Well, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz is calling for the U.S. and Europe to repair and revive transatlantic trust together. His comments come as the Munich Security Report warns that the post-1945 international order is under destruction. Now, this report declares that the U.S. has largely abandoned the role of leader of the free world under Trump, who it calls, quote, a dominant force of wrecking ball politics. Well, now, nearly 50 world leaders are expected to attend today's security conference, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio. I want to bring in foreign correspondent Tom Soufi Burridge for more on this. So Tom, break this down for me. We've got the security conference, which is underway. Both the German Chancellor and the security report are putting out these strong messages. How is the U.S. responding?
Yeah, so no reaction yet to Morgan, the speech we just heard from the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. I mean, just to put this speech into context, I mean, Friedrich Merz really, I think, he basically said the world order as we know it is gone. I mean, he went further than the report going into this very important security conference in Munich, where world leaders are present. About 50 world leaders are there. And basically, he did lay into the Trump administration to some extent. I mean, he at one point in the speech said, we don't believe in tariffs and protectionism, but in free trade. There was applause in the room. We, he means Europe. He also kind of made an appeal to the Trump administration to stay out of European politics. We have seen some language from top Trump administration officials, promoting the far right in Europe, for example. But effectively, the thrust of his speech was, look, we are now in this age of kind of big power rivalry, where you've got Russian imperialism in Ukraine, you've got China flexing its might, and he says, soon potentially on a military par with the US. And his pitch to the US was that even in this big power rivalry era, the US itself still needs its allies. It still needs Europe. And look, he's saying that Europe will do its part. Europe is stepping up. Europe's building up its defense industries. But, the rift which has opened up in the last few months between Europe and the US, he says needs to be repaired. It needs to be rebuilt. And that won't just benefit Europe, but it will also benefit the US.
Yeah, the speech is one side of it, but I want to point to the report because it somewhat credits the president's, quote, destructive but creative style with breakthroughs on NATO defense spending and the Israel-Hamas ceasefire. But at that same time, it does question whether, his policies will ultimately benefit the many. How significant is this rebuke of the U.S. in Trump's policies?
Well, look, I mean, the report itself is pretty hard hitting. I mean, these kind of reports going into the Munich Security Conference, I mean, it's always been a very important conference, looking to a large extent at the transatlantic relationship, building bridges between the US and Europe. But this report going into the conference did not pull its punches. I mean, it really did lay into this new type of what it says is increasing authoritarianism around the world. And it says the US under Donald Trump is, in its opinion, the main actor in that. And it says basically the world we knew it with rules, respect for sovereignty, that is gone. But it predicts that will be very, very dangerous for everyone, including the United States and, everyone living around the world.
And you just kind of hinted at this, but I want to zoom out even further, the global relations here. What could this mean for U.S. relations with our traditional allies?
Well, the relationship is fractured, that's for sure. I mean, look, we've seen it time and time again over the last few months. We saw it in the national security strategy from the Trump administration at the end of last year. I mean, it didn't even call Russia a foe, basically. It didn't paint Russia as a threat. So Europe is very, very worried about that type of thing in the Trump administration's foreign policy. That said, you've got to look at the reality on the ground. And the US is the predominant force within NATO. NATO is the security architecture within Europe and beyond for the time being. But what we are now seeing is Europe saying we're going to step up. And I was on a briefing with French officials just earlier. I think we're going to hear more from the French President Emmanuel Macron about this at the security conference tonight, that Europe is now really taking on its own security and moving in ways where it will defend that kind of rules-based order, the type of order that was previously defended by previous presidents in the US. But Europe still wants to work with the Trump administration. It has to work with the Trump administration because, the two continents are inextricably entwined.
So much to think about, and the implications here are very grand. Tom Soufi Burridge, thank you so much for breaking this down for us.